What if I told you the most dangerous weapon in the world isn't a nuclear warhead, a hypersonic missile, or even a hacker in a dark room? It's a boat, a slow, rusty, boring boat. And here's the terrifying part. If just 12 of these boats disappear tomorrow, you might not eat for a month. Your supermarket shelves go empty, your city runs out of food, and the world as we know it stops working. Sounds impossible, right? Stick with me. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. Let me explain this with something you understand. Your morning routine. Imagine every morning you need 3 things: coffee, bread, and phone charge. Simple. Now imagine someone blocks the road to your grocery store, cuts the power line to your house, and stops the truck that delivers your coffee beans. You're stuck. You can't start your day. Now scale that up. But instead of your house, it's a city of 10 million people. Instead of coffee, it's wheat, oil, medicine, and electronics. Instead of a blocked road, it's a blocked sea. That's the trap we've built for ourselves. Here's what we're talking about today. 90% of everything you own, eat, or use traveled on a ship at some point. Your phone, your sneakers, the avocado you had for breakfast, the fuel in your car, all of it floating across oceans inside giant metal boxes stacked on boats. And there's one place on Earth where all of these boats have to pass. One tiny corridor, a bottleneck. It's called the Strait of Hormuz. You've probably heard the name on the news, but you don't know how fragile it really is. Look at a map. Find the Persian Gulf. Now look at the tiny opening at the bottom. That's the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it's only 33 kilometers wide. That's it. That's the width of a small city. And through this tiny gap, 20% of the world's oil passes every single day. Think about that. 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil on planet Earth squeezes through a corridor you could swim across in a few hours. But here's the part they don't tell you. It's not just oil. Qatar sits on that same gulf. And Qatar produces 40% of the world's liquefied natural gas, the gas that heats Europe's homes, the gas that powers factories in Asia, all of it loaded onto ships, sent through that same tiny strait. So let's do the math. One narrow passage, 20% of the world's oil, 40% of the world's LNG, and the entire economy of the Gulf states. All of it depends on one thing, that the strait stays open. Now imagine someone decides to close it. Who would do that? Iran. Iran sits right on the other side of the strait. They've got Coast Guard boats, they've got missiles, they've got mines, and they've said it out loud many times. If we can't sell our oil, nobody sells oil. Think about that threat. It's not like threatening to bomb a city. It's like threatening to cut the main water pipe to an entire apartment building. Everyone suffers. Everyone. If Iran closes the strait, here's what happens. Day 1. Oil prices don't just go up, they explode. $200 a barrel. $300. Maybe more. Every trucking company raises prices. Every airline raises ticket prices. Every product that needs shipping costs more. Day 7. Ships start rerouting. But there is no good reroute. They have to go around Africa. That adds weeks to every journey. Goods pile up at ports, deliveries slow down, supermarkets start rationing. Day 30. Countries start panicking. Japan, India, China, Europe. They all need that oil. They all need that gas. Diplomacy breaks down. Alliances crack. Some countries might even consider military action just to reopen the strait. And here's the messed up part. Iran doesn't even need to sink ships. They just need to make it too dangerous to pass. Drop a few mines, park a submarine nearby. Suddenly, insurance companies refuse to cover ships passing through, and ship captains refuse to sail. The strait is closed without a single shot fired. Now you're probably thinking, but America has the strongest navy in the world. They just blow up the threat and keep the strait open. Sure. Let's look at that. The US Fifth Fleet is based right there in Bahrain. They've got destroyers. They've got aircraft carriers. They've got submarines. On paper, it's unstoppable. But here's the problem no one talks about. Iran doesn't fight fair. They don't send battleships to fight battleships. That's stupid. They send small speedboats, dozens of them, swarming like mosquitoes. They lay cheap mines that cost a few $1,000s each, and clearing those mines takes weeks and costs millions. It's like trying to protect your house from flies with a shotgun. Sure, you've got firepower, but the flies keep coming, and while you're shooting flies, the real damage happens elsewhere. Some military analysts call this asymmetric warfare. I call it the mosquito strategy. You can't punch a mosquito, you can't negotiate with a mosquito. You just have to hope it leaves you alone. But here's where it gets really dark, because the Strait of Hormuz is just one bottleneck. There are others. The Suez Canal in Egypt, another tiny passage. 12% of global trade passes through it. If that closes, ships go around Africa, weeks added to every journey. The Malacca Strait between Indonesia and Malaysia. 25% of all traded goods pass through it. Oil from the Gulf to China, manufactured goods from China to Europe, all through that one narrow channel. The Panama Canal, 6% of world trade, connecting Pacific to Atlantic. If that closes, ships go around South America, through dangerous waters, through storms, through weeks of extra time. Now imagine two of these close at the same time. Or three. What happens to global supply chains? They snap. And here's the scary truth. We've built our entire modern civilization on the assumption that these choke points will always stay open. We've optimized for efficiency, not for resilience. Just-in-time delivery, empty warehouses, ships that never stop moving. It all works perfectly, until it doesn't. Let me make this personal. Right now, somewhere in the world, a farmer grew wheat. That wheat was loaded onto a truck. The truck went to a port. The port loaded it onto a ship. That ship is sailing through some ocean, heading to another port, where it will be unloaded, put on another truck, and driven to a factory that turns it into bread. Then that bread goes to a supermarket near you. That whole chain takes months. It involves thousands of people. It crosses multiple borders. It depends on fuel, on electricity, on computers, on workers showing up, on weather cooperating, and on pirates not attacking. And at the center of it all, those narrow choke points, those tiny strips of water where everything converges. Block one of them and the chain breaks. Not just for one product, for everything. Food prices spike, medicine becomes scarce, factories shut down because parts don't arrive, people lose jobs, governments lose tax revenue, social unrest grows, borders close, trade wars start. And in the worst case, real wars start, all because of a boat. A slow, rusty, boring boat, and a narrow strip of water. But here's the part that really keeps strategists awake at night. We've been talking about closing the Strait of Hormuz like it's a choice, like someone has to deliberately attack it. But what if it closes by accident? A big ship crashes, a terrorist attack, a cyber attack on port systems, a regional war that spills into the water, climate change making storms more frequent and dangerous. Any of these could disrupt the strait without anyone planning it. And the world has no backup plan. There's no spare Strait of Hormuz. There's no alternative route that carries the same volume. There's no magic switch that turns on extra capacity somewhere else. We've put all our eggs in one basket, and that basket is floating in dangerous waters. So here's the reality check. We look at nuclear weapons and think they're the biggest threat to humanity. We worry about hackers stealing our data. We stress about the next pandemic. But the thing that could actually break civilization, the thing that could empty supermarkets, ground airplanes, and turn off lights, it's a bottleneck, a narrow passage, a choke point we've ignored for decades. The Strait of Hormuz, the Suez Canal, the Malacca Strait, the Panama Canal, 4 narrow strips of water holding up 90% of everything we use. Next time you hear about tensions in the Middle East, don't just think about oil prices. Think about your next meal. Think about the medicine in your cabinet. Think about the phone in your hand. And ask yourself, how did we let all of this depend on something so fragile? The boats keep sailing, the strait stays open, for now. But the question isn't if one of these choke points will close. The question is when, and whether we'll be ready. What do you think? Will the next world war start on a battlefield or in a bottleneck? Drop a comment. Tell me your thoughts. And if this video made you think differently about the world, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because most people have no idea how close we are to the edge.